Strap yourselves in, lad. This is a bloody long one, not gonna lie to you. It was long to live it, it's long to relive it. Get yourself a coffee, some snacks. Here we go. Like bloody Starbucks in my house. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, is to do with landlords, specifically my experience with university landlords. Such fun. I'm gonna up the brightness. As you can see by my notes, there's a lot to go through. It's a lot of drama, darling. It's a lot of drama. So, drama channels, watch out. I'm coming for your crown. So, the reason why I wanted to do this video, first and foremost, is because I've not done a story time. And I was thinking, what can I do a story time on? This is it, mate. This is it. You know what? Let's just get into it. Instead of dilly-dallying.
Dilly-dallying.
There's 3 parts to this. Beginning, middle and end, my love. It's the beginning. Once upon a time, no, I'm joking, I definitely didn't write that. It was first year and me and my friends were like, right, next year, uni house, because that's the way you do it. So the people that moved into the house was me, my friend Beth, my friend Rachel and my friend Sam. It was us 4 in this house and it honestly was a wonderful house. It had everything you wanted. It was like a 15-20 minute walk from the university. We lived right next to this massive park which had loads of like wild horses in it. It was literally idyllic. We went through a student accommodation service called Student Housing in Lincoln. Everything was running smoothly. So when we first got the papers to sign, the landlord turned around and basically said, oh, by the way, we're not going to use student housing anymore. And we were like,
what?
And she was like, yeah, I'm just going to do it completely solo. That didn't sit right with my friend Rachel's dad, personally, because he thought, well, if anything goes wrong in the house, who do they report to? You? And she was like, yeah. And he was like, but you live in Essex. So the landlord is from Essex. How are you going to be there? How are you going to facilitate that? And then she basically said, okay, fine, student housing can be involved, but I want to do the utility bills. So we kind of was like, fine, you do that side, and then whatever happens in like breakages, leak, things like that, the people in student housing, those are the people that we always refer to. We never really spoke to her at all because there was nothing that we ever needed to say to her because it's all about bills, and like, I don't know anything about bills. As I said, first year, all fine and dandy.
All fine and dandy.
Beth decided that she wanted to live somewhere else in the 3rd year and we still wanted to stay in the house, and my ex at the time, he agreed that he would move in. So then it was me, Sam, Rachel and my ex. And then he broke up with me. He stayed around in the house for I think 2 more months. When Beth and Jake left, they got their full deposit back, so they said goodbye, everything was fine. So then Remy finally moved in, who again is our friend. So it's us 4, me, Sam, Remy and Rachel. Boy, I make it sound way more confused than it is. I am so sorry. Me, Sam and Rachel were there through the thick and thin of it. Remy was there for like 4 or 5 months of the tenancy, so he wasn't around for long. He stepped up to it and we ended up still living there because otherwise we were going to be homeless. So through the years of the tenancy, I ended up getting a really good relationship with the landlord because, as I said, she's from Essex and Essex people gravitate towards each other. It's just a thing. I actually really enjoyed her company. I thought she was always really sweet. And she always asked us if there was anything we needed. We messaged her. We exchanged numbers because I think she was like the closest to me. I was like the person that she'd message if she needed something, she needed help. Came to the 3rd year, she messaged me and was like, hey Jess, I live in Essex. I can't get to Lincoln. I was just wondering if you would be able to show... Oh, bitch, I'm filming. It's my brother, just in the car picking a song. I know he is. Is there any possibility that you can show around some students for me whilst I'm not there? And I was like, yeah, like, I don't mind at all. She knows that my mum is an estate agent. My dad's a commercial estate agent. Sales is kind of in our blood, and I'm quite an outgoing, confident person, and I know a lot about the house. So it kind of felt like an easy fit. I wasn't going to bullshit throughout the entire thing. Like, I knew my stuff. She said she'd give me £100 if the group of people that I show the house to end up signing on. I was like, yeah, sure. Ended up showing 2 groups of people around the house for her while she wasn't there. I'm going to get into that at later detail, but I'm just going to put that into your mind. I'm going to be 100% truthful and say we had a lot of parties in the house, like university students of course were going to. So yeah, there were a couple of marks onto the walls. I didn't mind spending a bit of money on paint pots to like help her out and stuff. Quite honestly, she had like loads of paint in like a cubby hole so that she can redecorate when it was all over. So when I said to her like, are you okay about on the walls, she was like, I've got all the stuff for redecorating in the living room, don't even think about it. There was only one other thing that definitely know that we all did break, except for me, can I just say, ha ha ha, genius child, was the freezer drawers. All of our freezer drawers like froze over and then they just broke, and you know, it happens in most people's freezers. Did say to student housing that they are broken, and they did warn us that, you know, we may be charged be like £20 per person. And again, what is £20 when you've just had the best 2 years of your life? Like, it's absolutely nothing, so we didn't even care. Just as we were moving out of the house, I messaged her and said, hey, I've got all this stuff that I actually think would benefit the house, because when we moved in, there wasn't a... I'm gonna sneeze. Fuck me. That was so dramatic. When we moved into the house, we all automatically realised that there actually wasn't a lot of storage for us. I'm gonna sneeze again. Me and Rachel in particular went to IKEA and we bought loads of like big chest of drawers. We are happy to leave them, like they were only a year old, and she was like, thank you so much, like that's I really appreciate that. I was very adamant that it went through student housing as well, so student housing was aware of the situation that was happening, because a lot of landlords tend to, at the end of tenancy, charge you extra if you leave anything behind, literally anything. So I was well aware of that situation, so I made sure that student housing knew that we were leaving that stuff and that she agreed. Rachel left like 50-inch TV in the living room, because again, the TV that she left was quite small and like not that great. Oh, we also left a tumble dryer and she was completely fine with it. She was completely happy with it. We felt like everything was fine. Like our relationship with her was great through start to end. I was the last person there, so I deep cleaned. And when I say I deep cleaned, I deep cleaned. I was all on my own. I was terrified, scrubbing, doing things, weeding out the garden, doing everything I possibly could, because I did appreciate what she'd done. I did appreciate the house. It was like a dream. So yeah, I did all that and then we left and that was it. Or so we thought. I went to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and on the way home in the train, I got an email that said this. Reading that email basically said that each person's being charged £201.08. And it was all because of utility bills. I'm gonna just read off this because I will get the numbers wrong and I don't want to mess up. Our bill allowance per year is £520, and we'd overspent in the first year £493 and the next year £310.93, making the total of £804 and some ridiculous like 2p. So again, per person it was £201.08. The deposit that we gave was £300 and the rent for each week was £97.50. Argument's sake, let's just say £200. £200 was a big amount of the deposit gone, and I was just shocked because one, I never knew that we were over our bills. No one had ever said anything to us about the bills. Literally not one word. It was like, how has this happened? Like, why didn't they tell us that we were overspending our bills? What's happening? How can she do this? Is there any evidence? And we just went mental. And honestly, I don't think we would have been able to do half the things we did in this journey if it wasn't for my mum. Because she's an estate agent and works in rentals and lettings, she knew the law word by word. Like, she knew her stuff, and if it wasn't for her, I don't think we would have been able to do literally anything. We need that money back. We've just finished university, we're completely broke, we need that money back. And that is when we get into the storm. I've written the storm. So we basically bit back and was like, no. No, bitch. Our argument was the fact that she had never told us what the bills were. She'd never, in the 2 years at the end of each month doing the meter readings, she'd never said that we'd gone over or under, which is actually a legal requirement for landlords to do. You have to tell your tenants that, hey, you're overspending by 10%, maybe you should cut it back, or hey, you're underspending by 20%, you can keep going if you want, but you use more energy if you want to, etc. And never once had she emailed, rung her, nothing. They would take the meter readings and leave, and that was it. It's almost as if they were like, fuck telling them now, let's get the money at the end. Yeah. And then we basically asked her for evidence. We said that if you're going to charge us this amount, then we need the evidence, because otherwise we're not going to pay it. And then we received a mammoth email. She said that her excuse was that the company she used for the bills had gone under. So it was OVO, I believe, Energy, and they had gone under at the time, which isn't false. And because the energy company had gone under, she had no access to the evidence of us overusing the bills or anything like that. And we were like, okay, so how are we meant to believe you? Like, it's so easy if you just turn around and be like, yes, you overspent by this amount, I want the money back. But like, hello, where's the evidence? Like, if we've not got any evidence, I'm not going to pay you anything. And she basically claimed that she had sent me a text message saying we'd had overspent by 800 and something pounds, and that I never replied to the message. So my response to that was, well, can you show me that text message, because I've never received that. Could she send me the text message? No, that's so weird, she couldn't. And could she find me a screenshot of the text message? No, she couldn't. So again, it's almost like that didn't happen. I'm not being funny. If you receive a text message from someone like, hey babes, you've overspent your bills by £800, are you going to be like, haha, hilarious, banter, delete? No. I have anxiety. Do you honestly think I'd get that message and be like, ha ha ha, lols? No, I would have received that message and cried. I would have been like, what am I going to do? Like, because that is how I was when I was on the train back home from Edinburgh. I was in distress. I don't have that money. I don't know what I'm meant to do. That's how I would have behaved, and I would have instantly messaged everyone like, guys, what have we done? But no, it didn't happen. Again, she didn't have any evidence, and she was just bullshitting because she thought that she could just bullshit. She then got angry at us. Like, it was very clear in the emails that she went from, hey, you've overspent by this amount, I do need that money back, to then being like, well, actually, you could tell we'd riled up the beast a bit, because we basically point blank said no, obviously. So then she came back with this. The email goes on forever. There's no point in me even showing it to you because it does go on a bloody bit. She was basically saying, fuck you. And then dropped more bombshells on us and said that she's now charging us with £80 per person for redecorating, £20 per person for a broken bed drawer, which was Sam's drawer. It wasn't even our drawer. So, to be fair, it was broken. £75 per person for the freezer drawers. £75 per person for freezer drawers. Now, when we said to student housing, oh, you know, freezer drawers are broken, they were like, it's going to be £30, like, it's not going to be that much. We got £75. We were like, what? How? Then £70 for the garden because it was overgrown. So that all in all came to £445 per person. So he was trying to get this amount, I don't know maths, from everyone. Can I also say, the house is not worth £97 per week. It is not. The house is basic. It was a lovely house and I love living in it, and I will always say that to the day I bloody die. But it is not worth that amount of money. Throughout the years, we had a lot of issues in regards to our heating. Never got turned on. Like, it was freezing. It was an old Victorian house. And Dad just offered me some halloumi. How nice. Oh, my latte. The windows in the kitchen had a crack through it. was not double glazed. So during the winter months it got freezing, so cold, to the point where we actually had to ask student housing to give us some small heaters. The water just constantly turned on and off, wouldn't work properly, wouldn't function properly, and again we told everyone. We also had a major leak in the bathroom, to the point where all the floors had to come completely up and they had to be completely relined. And also, that was a weird part, they had laminate flooring and it obviously got all damp and gross from the leak, and instead of disposing of that floor properly, they just chucked it out in the garden. So it was in the garden for years, and we were like, is anyone gonna come and collect that? Like, no, they never did. There was also like another leak upstairs as well, I think in the other upstairs bathroom. There was a lot of problems, like a lot of problems. The doors were not fire safety doors, and it's a legal requirement to have HMO properties to have fire doors. You'll notice this in student accommodations throughout the UK, that most of your doors will be fire doors. Ours were just these really flimsy wooden doors. The carpet wasn't even actually onto the floor, it was just laid there, so like it wasn't like stapled in or anything like that. It literally was just on top and would move around constantly. No proper ventilation of any kind. I had a leak in my room, again I'm pretty sure I've got a video. There was one point where I left a cup and it filled all the way up literally in a couple of hours. That's how bad the leak was, and that would happen throughout the 2 years. Like, I would call up a lot about that leak. We never once complained, like we just lived in it and we didn't really care because we had such an amazing time, so like why would we complain? Fucking regret that now, mate. To really fuck us over at this point, she then wanted to charge us extra because apparently we had left junk in her house, and she's referring to the things that we had left. I found that really infuriating because she was so appreciative of all the things that we'd left her to help her in the next year. I wanted everyone who lived into the house to have the wonderful memories and experiences that we had, and to have extra storage is a really good bonus on any property, especially when you're students. To have, you know, a bigger TV screen is a wonderful thing to do, and to leave a dryer, it adds value onto your property. Like, most student accommodations don't have dryers. So again, she was then going to charge us for including an appliance that she didn't want into the house. With all of that, we were like, why the fuck you lying? And we pulled up all the evidence, and that is when it went to DPS. So if you're not aware what DPS is, it is the Deposit Protection Scheme. It's run in the UK, and this is what we use to keep our deposits safe. It's a general thing, most landlords will use it, and it is to protect you as well as the landlord. So in any case, at the end of your tenancy, they try and take the deposit for whatever reason. You have a unbiased person who is kind of like your judge, who will then sit through all of the evidence, gather it all up, and then decide how much is going to be given where, who's in the fault, who's not. So we were like, let's go, bitch. And that is when it became war. Mum spent so many hours in collecting all evidence and data. We sent her videos, pictures, everything that we had of the house, we sent it to her. And we moved into the property, we took pictures because we knew just in case, and it did happen. So we had so much evidence to give over to the DPS. She was doing things like ignoring emails, ignoring phone calls. She wouldn't reply at all. We'd be like, is there any updates? And he'd be like, no, because she hasn't contacted us, like she hasn't allowed there to be any updates. And she would be very sneaky in the way that she would leave it to literally the last day to hand in evidence, so that we couldn't look at the evidence, so that we couldn't see what she was trying to attack us with. She was very smart when it came to things like that. It was almost like she knew kind of how to play the game as well, like she'd researched into it. Honestly, it was terrifying because, you know, all you can do is just try and be honest as much as possible, collect as much evidence as possible. But still, if the judge turns around and says like no, or we could lose a hefty amount, because it literally went from us being charged £200, which means we would have still got £100 back, to then us being charged the full deposit plus 100 and basically £50 extra. What's quite interesting to know is that you cannot, as a landlord, charged more than your deposit in claiming things back. But that bitch was trying to do it. Did we win? Did we not win? Drum roll, please. Kinda yes and kinda not. We're going to be charged £445 per person, and this is the result that came from it. This is what DPS had to say. If my camera looks different, it's because it is. Camera was out of charge. The cleaning, DPS said that it was left in a domestic standard above average. However, the photos do suggest marks on the walls, which we already knew, so we weren't that mad about it. They said that it was going to be £20 per person. Kind of annoyed me, seeing as the fact that she was so like, it's fine, we've got the paint, and apparently wasn't good enough for her anymore. So yeah, £20 per person. You win some, you lose some. I mean, she was going to charge us £70, so £50 we shaved off because, you know, we had left it in a really good state. The junk that we'd left, completely no charge, nothing. I don't even think it went to DPS. Basically, we turned around to her and was like, why are you lying? We've got all this evidence. We've got emails saying that it's completely fine for them to leave these items and text messages. So do you really want this to go to DPS? And she basically like completely ignored all of that because, you know, she can't argue with facts, which she kept trying to do. The freezer drawers, again, I think we always kind of knew we were going to have to pay them, so this one didn't really come as a big surprise to us. Like, we had to pay for the freezer drawers. But she wanted us to pay £75 or something per person, and we only ended up paying 10. So there's like a big difference there. What she was doing, she was saying that she was getting quoted these things, so she'd go around asking for quotes. Hey, for all this freezer drawers, how much do you reckon it would cost me? And she said that she got quoted £75 per person, so that's how much she was charging us. And DPS was like, that is not correct. Which again felt like a win because the amount that she was trying to charge us and put it all the way down, it's like pointless. We're like, boom. Gardening, no charge. Because again, there's not enough evidence. She didn't take enough pictures of the gardening and things like that, and we'd given off everything that we possibly could. So the no charge for the gardener, even though she was going to, what was it? £70 per person. Ridiculous. Redecoration, she said that the bathrooms needed to be completely redone, and DPS was like, actually, that's your issue. There's nothing to do with the tenants. Landlords have to allow wear and tear in properties. Like, it's a thing that they do, because if you live there for plus years, so if you live there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever, you have to allow wear and tear, because obviously the property isn't going to be the same as you first moved in, because it was a long time ago. And they said that, you know, she should allow wear and tear for the bathrooms in particular, and it's actually her issue and not ours. However, he did say that the bedroom drawers needed to be redone, obviously. £20 per person again. And then the finale. And this is like the thing that I wanted to win so badly. I couldn't care less if we ended up losing the garden, the redecoration or whatever, because this is what she tried to get us with from the beginning. The thing that like really grinded my gears is the fact that she came to us like, hey, you've gone over your utility bills. And then when we refused to, she was vicious enough to then add all this extra stuff on. Literally, her being spiteful, it's her being mean and manipulative, getting greedy, as much money as she possibly could. She was going to drip us dry of everything we possibly could because she was mad at us for not paying the utility bills. Because it's just the principle of the matter. Like, if she was honest, if she really cared about the redecoration, the freezer drawers, all of the gardening, if she really cared about that, in the very first email she would say, hey guys, you've left this as a shithole, fix it. And in that case, I think I would have had more respect for her. Like, quite honestly, I think I would have had more respect for her, because then it's like, okay, you clearly feel this way. How she felt was, oh, they're over utility bills, we need to charge them. Oh, they're not doing it? Fine, let's fuck them up. And that is how mean landlords are sometimes. I'm not generalising landlords, because I know not all of them are like this, but that's how they can be, and that's how quick they can turn on you. Because I'm not being funny. I did so much for her. We all did so much for her, and we didn't get charged for any of it. Not a single penny. was given to her for the utility bills, which was why we all started this in the very first place. For evidence that she gave over to DPS, it was an Excel spreadsheet. An Excel spreadsheet as evidence. Okay. At the time I was 20 years old. As a 20-year-old woman, I know that giving in an Excel spreadsheet is not factual. It's not evidence. Because anyone could write in those columns, you owe me £500. It's not hard to manipulate an Excel spreadsheet. There's nothing from any of the companies that she worked with. She took pictures of meter readings and then couldn't give them into evidence. Like, she had nothing except for this one Excel spreadsheet. That is the equivalent of me going up to someone and being like, you owe me £2,000, and then being like, what? Why? Did you break my phone? No, I didn't. Where's your evidence? Here, I've made it on a A4 Word document. It must be true. Overall, we ended up giving over, I think it was £60, which is a massive win in my eyes. Like, a huge win. To have this woman literally want to charge us £445 per person and get it down to 60 felt like the biggest achievement ever. We literally cried when we all got the email over. It was amazing. It felt so good. And I really felt for Remy throughout the whole thing, because he had only lived there, as I said, for 4 months, and he was being charged for all these things, like the utility bills in particular, which she said was overcharged for the first and second year. He wasn't even living there. And Beth and Jake had left completely fine with their deposits intact, and they left. Why didn't she then say, actually, the first year you've gone over your bills, so I'm not going to give you your deposit back? At that moment, we should have had this all out. But no, she's fine. You can have your money back. You can have your money back. But these three, no. Including the one who's only lived here for 4 months, you're going to pay. In regards to me showing around students, I found out through student housing that they charge £200 per viewing. And I'd also found out that one of the groups, the people that I showed around the property, ended up signing on to the house next year. She owed me £100. And did I ever see any penny of that? No. I got conned out of £400 because I did 2 viewings. It should have been £400 and I got nothing. Really affected me because, like, I was so nice to her. We were all so nice to her, and then she was that mean and vicious, and it really shows you that you can never trust someone. You can never trust your landlords. And as much as they are so lovely to you, as much as they really care about you and they care about the property and all this, it comes to it and they want to be greedy and they want to take your money, they can and they will. But not in this instance, because we had enough evidence, we had enough things to tell her to fuck off. £445 per person? I think the first thing I wanted to do was tell everyone. I felt like people needed to know the story, all the shit that she'd done, everything that happened. So I put it all on a Facebook post. So there's this like massive university page called Overheard Lincoln. I know that a lot of universities have this. I'd post this massive post basically being like, dear people of 179 West Parade, please be careful. I did it as an open letter to everyone, but specifically the people that lived in 179, because their landlord is still her. And to be honest, she could do it again. And to be honest, like, she will. I posted it onto the Facebook page and it got a lot of attention. A lot of people saying something similar happened to me, or oh my god, I can't believe this is giving me tips and tricks on what to do. And then I got a message from this journalist from the BBC saying that she wanted to interview me. And at the time I thought it was just going to be like an email interview, but she was like, no, I want to meet you. And I was like, sure, whatever. Ended up having a camera crew in the house and I ended up being on the BBC News. Woo! The £60 per person revenge wasn't enough. I then told everyone on Facebook, so then all of the University of Lincoln knew about. I then also went all over the BBC and it went everywhere. I had messages from people who I hadn't even heard of in years saying, hey, I've just seen you on the news, good for you girl. There was an article as well on the BBC, as well as the video interview. It was a crazy whirlwind, the amount of media attention it got, and then like the amount that people were then sharing their stories and posting more. It went crazy, and she definitely saw it. She 100% must have saw it, and she 100% must have been like, fuck you. I'm very extra, and if you fuck me over, yes, I'm gonna go to the BBC News. No, I'm not. Like, I didn't sit there and go, yeah, I'm gonna go to the press for this. Like, I didn't want that. It just happened. I got interviewed for the Lincolnite and then Lincolnshire Live because obviously University of Lincoln. But yeah, that's basically it. That is the tea, sis. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to talk more about this situation, I'll definitely link all the articles, all the videos, everything down below. If you want to have any more questions about student accommodation, student landlords, feel free to just sound off below and I'll definitely reply to those comments because I'll be there to fight your corner, my loves. I'm there for you. If you enjoyed this story time, I've never done a story time before and I talk for so long and I know this is like an hour long, so this is going to be fun to edit. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I'll see you next week with a brand new video and it does involve the Linden boys because I know you guys bloody love that video so much. Don't forget to ring that bell, subscribe, share this video and like it. And I'll see you later.